In the vast tapestry of the universe, there is a grand design that we may not always understand, but trust that there's a reason for every twist and turn in your life. Scene transition. A young child, Sarah, is playing in a garden, full of joy and innocence. Meet Sarah. She's a bright, curious child, with dreams as big as the sky. Transition to a school scene. Sarah is studying diligently, getting good grades, and making friends. As Sarah grew, she worked hard in school and made friends along the way. She dreamed of becoming a scientist to explore the mysteries of the world. Transition to a stormy night. Sarah's house is struck by lightning, causing a fire. But life had other plans. One stormy night, tragedy struck. Sarah's family home was engulfed. Scene transition. Sarah is now a teenager, standing before the ruins of her home. Devastated, Sarah wondered why this had to happen. She felt lost, her dreams slipping through her fingers like grains of sand. Transition to a church scene. Sarah finds solace in a church praying. Seeking solace, Sarah turned to her faith. She prayed for guidance and strength. Scene transition. Sarah meets a wise, elderly woman named Mrs. Johnson at the church. In her darkest hour, Sarah met Mrs. Johnson, a wise and caring woman. They formed an unlikely friendship. Transition to Sarah helping Mrs. Johnson in her garden. Sarah began spending time with Mrs. Johnson, helping her tend to her beautiful garden. Scene transition. Sarah finds a hidden, old journal in Mrs. Johnson's attic. One day, while rummaging through the attic, Sarah discovered an old journal that belonged to Mrs. Johnson. Transition to Sarah reading the journal. It's filled with stories of hope, resilience, and overcoming adversity. The journal was filled with stories of hope, resilience, and overcoming adversity. Sarah realized that Mrs. Johnson had faced her share of challenges too. Scene transition. Sarah and Mrs. Johnson sitting under a tree, talking. Sarah asked Mrs. Johnson about her life, her hardships, and how she had found peace and purpose. Mrs. Johnson's voice narrates a flashback. She faced many challenges, but always believed in the plan of God. I faced many challenges in my life, my dear, but I always believed that there was a plan, a purpose in everything that happened. Scene transition. Sarah's determination is reignited. Sarah listened to Mrs. Johnson's words and felt a renewed determination. Transition to Sarah pursuing a career in horticulture. She decided to pursue a career in horticulture, finding solace in the beauty of nature. Scene transition. Sarah helps rebuild her family home. Sarah also worked tirelessly to rebuild her family's home, turning it into a sanctuary of love and resilience. Transition to Sarah making a discovery in the garden. One day, while tending to Mrs. Johnson's garden, Sarah made a remarkable discovery. Scene transition. Sarah finds a rare and beautiful flower blooming in the garden. A rare and beautiful flower had bloomed in the garden. It was a symbol of hope and new beginnings. Transition to Sarah receiving a letter of acceptance to a prestigious research institute. Inspired by the beauty around her, Sarah applied to a prestigious research institute and received a letter of acceptance. Scene transition. Sarah dedicating her life to studying and preserving rare plants. She dedicated her life to studying and preserving rare plants, finding purpose and fulfillment in her work. Transition to Sarah sharing her story with others. Sarah also shared her story with others, reminding them that even in the face of adversity, there is a divine plan. Closing scene. Sarah, now a successful horticulturist, standing in a garden, surrounded by rare and beautiful flowers. End of animated story. Why God has a plan for you.